To open a weed dispensary, one must apply for a rare license, pay thousands of dollars in fees, and undergo rigorous regulation. Not so for some alternative cannabis shops that are opening up across the city and sort of operating outside the bounds of the law. That's because they're selling a product derived from hemp called Delta 8, which has all the same properties as THC marijuana. It can be purchased in convenience stores, and there are no age minimums for purchase, unlike tobacco or alcohol. There really isn't much in the way of regulation on it yet, so it's lit up a debate about who can and can't sell these psychoactive substances in Illinois. And here with more, our 2nd Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins, sponsor of an ordinance that would restrict sales of Delta 8 to licensed marijuana dispensaries. Democratic State Representative LaShawn Ford of the 8th District, which includes the west side of Chicago and a number of southwest suburbs. Charles Wu, owner of the Wicker Park Cafe Shy Tiva, which sells hemp-infused products, including menu items featuring Delta 8. And Kareem Kenyatta, co-owner of Star Buds marijuana dispensaries in West Suburban, Riverside, and Burbank. Fascinating debate. We're glad you're here. Charles Wu, so you have this Bucktown shop. You sell Delta 8-infused products like drinks and sweets. What is Delta 8?
Delta 8 nowadays stands for a variety of minor cannabinoids that come from the plant. And it is various forms of THC. If you can imagine, normal THC is vodka, and we have wine, we have seltzer, we have spritzes, and all those sorts of things.
So it's coming from hemp, and other THC cannabis is coming from marijuana, but same properties here. Alderman Hopkins, Delta 8 gets one high, like legal weed would, so why no regulations for this product yet?
Well, because if you have less than 0.3% of the active psycho product in whatever it is you're selling, it shouldn't get you high. It's a micro dose, and it shouldn't get you high. The problem is a lot of these unregulated products have found ways to enhance the toxic effect of their product, and people are buying these things not really knowing what the additives might be within them.
And so this is what's not regulated yet. Kareem Kenyatta, as someone who had to go through all the hoops to open a legal cannabis dispensary, what do you think about some of these Delta 8 shops?
Well, you know, since cannabis became effective in 2020, you know, as an operator, we've had to overcome obstacle after obstacle and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars before we were even able to open our door to make our first sale. And so as we sit here today and we talk about these Delta 8 shops who can open basically by just paying a fee to the city and don't have to go through any of the regulations, don't have to comply with zoning or install security systems the same way we do, you know, it really sets up a disadvantage for the same operators that when the state of Illinois passed this, we were supposed to promote and encourage. And these are operators that came from disproportionately impacted areas that have been impacted by the war on drugs. And not to mention, a third of our taxes go back into these communities through the R3 program.
All right, so Representative LaShawn Ford, you're trying to kind of set up a framework where these Delta 8 shops can coexist with legal weed. So what would that look like?
I mean, we can't have prohibition. We know prohibition just doesn't work, and I think that Kareem would want to actually ban it. And we don't want to ban it, we want to regulate it so that it's safe, so that we can actually tax it and regulate it. That's the right way to do it. This is a free enterprise. Government is supposed to set up regulations so that businesses could thrive, like Charles.
So Charles, is this product safe? I mean, Alderman Hopkins was mentioning that there are additives and things put into these products that people might not know about. So when they're going to your store, are they getting a product they know is safe, even though there really isn't statewide regulation on it?
Well, in our case, we have been advocating since 2021 to put in robust regulations, which include minimum age, testing, and labeling to prevent minors from buying the products. Now, in our case, we run through a very rigorous testing process. Our testing standards are similar, if not more stringent, than what cannabis has done. And one of the reasons why we're big proponents and supporters of Rep. Ford's bill is it levels the playing field so that people like Kareem cannot complain that, you know, we have an unfair advantage over them in the market.
And Alderman Hopkins, you're trying to introduce an ordinance at the city level. What would your regulations do?
My preference would be to outright ban these products, but instead what I'm doing is suggesting that these products can only be sold in a licensed dispensary. If you're a licensed dispensary, it means you went through the entire process. It means you comply with 650 pages of state regulations. Your product is inspected every step of the way, from the seed to the plant to distribution. We know exactly what's in it, and it's heavily taxed, as most regulated industries are, and you have to comply with all of the rules. We're moving these Delta-8 products under my ordinance into that regulatory environment. And I believe it will be a de facto ban, because most of the licensed dispensaries who went through all of this trouble to get their permits and their license won't want anything to do with these Delta-8 products.
You brought some samples too, because you're kind of upset at some of the marketing here. These packs, Cheetos, Skittles, it looks like something that kids would want to buy, and maybe they don't know what they're getting in there.
It absolutely does, and this is how the issue first came to my attention. I have 2 emergency rooms in my ward, Northwestern Hospital and Lurie Children's Hospital, and I'm hearing from doctors and nurses who are seeing a disturbing increase in children who are reporting to their emergency departments with cannabis toxicity. They've consumed too much of this product, and as you can see, if you're a child, if you're a 12-year-old, you think this is candy, you think this is a game, and because it's an edible product, the delay after you take 1 or 2, you don't feel any kind of intoxicating effect until a couple of hours later, and you might keep taking more, and you wind up in the emergency room.
I think, Charles, you said before we went on that you think those should be regulated and outlawed too. But Kareem Kenyatta, from the perspective of the legal cannabis stores, what would you tolerate in terms of Delta-8 being allowed to be sold in Illinois?
Well, I think we've already created the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act to, in order to sell products that contain THC. And to me, we don't need to create a secondary market. The point of creating the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act was to capture these products. So to say that we now need to create a secondary market and go against everything that we've built into social equity and all the diversity that's been created, we now have black and brown operators that have just become operational. And as I mentioned, all the threats we faced before, this is our biggest threat, because someone that, it takes us almost $1 million just to operate and own 1 store. These operators can open up a tobacco shop right across the street from mine for a fraction of the price. And I don't think any amount of regulation will change that at this point.
All right, what about...
Respectfully, you guys are opening a Delta-8 shop in Burbank, right across from the town next to our shop in Bridgeview.
Well, Charles, let me ask you this, though. Would you find it fair if you and other Delta-8 operators had to eventually go through all the hoops, go through a lottery, pay the kind of license fee that cannabis shops have? Is that a fair solution?
The regulation that we support, that Rep. Fort's puts together very stringent requirements from a testing, from a labeling, and from a compliance perspective that puts us on par with cannabis.
All right.
Can I just say, any operator that would sell that stuff, is that who we want to try to regulate?
We don't support that.
Yeah, we don't support
we
But
don't
you're
want
selling that right now.
Kareem, we have come so far in America and in Illinois when we lifted the ban on cannabis. We want to go back and turn back the hands of time and start criminalizing, creating an underground market for Delta. Just because you ban it doesn't mean it goes away. We need to regulate it and tax it and make sure that it's safe.
But if you do that, are you saying it's not going to hurt his industry, which he's saying they had to jump through so many hoops to get started?
Free enterprise. You have people coming to America now, crossing and walking months, because America is a great country where you can set up shop and make a living.
They at least have to go through the same kind of apparatus that the legal weed did.
It's happened in other states. You look at Florida. Florida is like Illinois. You've got 20 white guys that own the Florida market. It's a $2 billion market. You've got a Delta Hemp market that is open to the public. There are 10,000 businesses in there, and they've provided over $4 billion of economic impact. Many of those 10,000 businesses are minority businesses, are small businesses who started. And guess what? The 20 rich guys that own the cannabis market, they're still growing.
All right.
The guy in charge that runs his business, he can still make his money.
Clearly a heated debate. Alderman Hopkins, where do you think this is going to go in the city council? Where are they putting their support?
Yeah, it's in the Rules Committee right now. I talked to the chairwoman of the Health Committee. She's willing to hold a hearing on it. Obviously, there's some controversy surrounding this, and there's a lot of issues to sort out. But in the meantime, kids continue to present at the emergency department with cannabis toxicity and related adverse effects from taking these substances. I think it needs to be stopped before somebody dies, which actually there were 2 children who recently died in Pennsylvania California from ingesting these gummies, and it's probably just a matter of time before it happens here. We've had some serious medical reactions to this. We need to move quickly, and we need to address this now.
If a kid buys cannabis from a shop, they will have the same reaction. You cannot let kids grab cannabis gummies. They will be in the emergency room as well. It's a fact that we must regulate Delta 8.
But here's the thing. Since 2021, there has been laws in the state of Illinois to regulate this stuff. His business partner, who represents the Cannabis Business Association, killed the bill in 21, killed the bill in 2022, killed the bill in 2023.
There's lots of legislative maneuverings going on.
Can I just add, if we sold those products in our shop, we would lose our license.
All right.
We don't sell those products, and we
gotta
don't
leave it there,
condone
but I
those.
appreciate the spirited debate. This is going to be something that we're going to keep following. Charles Wu, Brian Hopkins, LaShawn Ford, Kareem Kenyatta, thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And up next, Mayor Johnson calls a special meeting to confirm his pick to lead the police department. Our Spotlight Politics team unpacks that and much more ahead.